What's good is DJ Shabak back with another Getting Started in the Bible. We are back at it like a crack at it, but we're smoking that Jesus pipe. All right, listen. Today I want to talk about a villain's origin story. Yeah, a villain's origin story is basically starts off as a child. Starts off as this sweet little person who, was going through life, going to school, making friends, just enjoying life. And then something happened, something traumatic happened to them, right? You look at Batman, who's not a villain, but what we call a vigilante, right? He was chilling with his parents one day and boom, boom, his parents got shot. But you look at another villain's origin story. I don't know one right now. I should have had one for reference. But basically, they went through something tragic. People turned against them. I guess Electro from Spider-Man. Basically, from my understanding, is that Electro from Spider-Man, at least from the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, okay? He was teased. He didn't look good. He was never, looked upon. He, great knowledge, but he didn't look good. He had a bad haircut. Everything was just trash about him, right? And people treated him as such, like trash. So then one day, experiment gone wrong, he gets electrified and becomes Electro. Now he's out to attack everybody that made fun of him. I think that's how the story goes. And we're like, okay, Shabak, thank you, I guess, but this isn't, Spider-Man's origin story, villains, whatever edition. This is Bible study, right? Well, we all tend to contribute to an origin story. But whether it's going to be a villain or superhero is up to us. I like that. That was nice. That's the way I said that. That was pretty nice. All right, now listen. I want to get into Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Used to be my favorite superhero when I was younger. Apparently, when I was younger, if you look back at a lot of my pictures, I used to be like, it was weird. I had an obsession with it. And the crazy part about it is that I hate spiders. Like, if you know me, you know I have a phobia of spiders, okay? I hate it. Jesus. Anyway. When you look at Spider-Man, who do you think about? Well, I think about Peter Parker. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Spider-Man's Peter Parker, but people don't know that. You do realize Spider-Man is a fictional character. So we as the audience who are looking at the movie, looking at the shows, looking at the comic books, we know that they're the same person, but New York doesn't, right? Everyone knows Spider-Man, but only a few people know Peter Parker. And only a few people know Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But it made me realize that people tend to treat Spider-Man a whole lot better than they treat Peter Parker. Why? Why is it? Is that because everyone loves and wants to support and wants to be friends with Spider-Man, taking selfies and all this great stuff, right? But no one cares about Peter Parker. But if you was to care about Peter Parker, then you would get close to Spider-Man. Ooh, I'm preaching. Listen, oftentimes we don't understand where someone is going to be or where someone is already. We just see them in the perspective of which we see them, right? So we just see them, oh, that's that kid from school. Or that's that person that goes to church. Oh, they're nobody to me. Blah, 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 right? But take someone in your church, take someone at school. You don't realize or you don't know, right, when you first meet this person in your class that they are one of the top YouTubers, right? Now, you may be like, well, if I probably should have known, I probably would have recognized them. Not necessarily. Shoot, YouTube algorithm. There's so many YouTubers and famous YouTubers. Famous YouTuber walk in, I won't know who they are. But some girls would, because, oh my gosh, he's a YouTube couple, him and his girlfriend, oh my god, right? So you can't say that. But my point here is that I'd be like, oh, okay, what's up, man? Meet him, dap him up, whatever. Don't care about him. But say if I treat him like trash, okay. And then I find out later, this dude making money from YouTube. This man is popular. And actually, that kind of happened to me. I was at this summer camp for guys, and one of the leaders in the camp, I was like, oh, he's pretty cool. And he was leading, he was doing the praise and worship. So, I'm like, it's cool, but I really didn't care about him. And I really didn't have to. It's just a cool worship leader. But I got his Instagram because I'm trying to network. He seemed cool. He was young, etc., etc. When I went back home, we couldn't have our phones at the time. When I went back home, this man is like a little famous. Like even within the Christian hip hop community, within the CCM community, this man got a name for himself a little bit. And then that same year, he was featured on Reach Records' Christmas album. I was mind blown. I'm trying to DM him, hit him up, be like, bro, I can help, that, all this type of stuff. Nothing came about it. And I realized I didn't take advantage of the moment when I had the moment, right? I was so busy trying to talk and network with everyone else that I didn't really develop a relationship with him. Because, see, it would have been networking if I knew exactly who he was and what he does. But it's building a relationship when I don't know anything about his career and what he does and what he could possibly do for me. And we have to ask ourselves, Peter Parker's friends, he had a best friend. I mean, it depended on the Peter Parker, all right? His best friend knew. His girlfriend knew. But these were people who were willing to get close to Peter Parker, not Spider-Man. If you look in at Spider-Man No Way, Far From Home, Homecoming, whatever that origin, right? If you look at that one, you got that guy who's, I'm your friend, right? Just because he knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Crazy, isn't it? But we do it all the time. Which then leads me into Tony Stark. Tony Stark. Who is Tony Stark? Oh, Iron Man. Do you realize the difference, the juxtaposition between Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Peter Parker, Spider-Man? You guess it? Okay. Yeah, everyone already knew who Tony Stark was and already wanted to be around the multi-millionaire, the philanthropist, and the playboy, in his words, right? Everyone already wanted to be around him. And then when he was Iron Man, he didn't hide the fact that I'm Iron Man. You remember that iconic scene. He was like, Tony Stark is Iron Man is Tony Stark. Something Peter Parker didn't do. Right? But Peter can't even afford to do that. Why? Because Peter isn't rich. Tony Stark was this dude that came from wealth, and then he got into weapons and building all these tech weapons and all this type of stuff, and then he became Iron Man. So how many of us would want it to be Tony Stark's friend? He didn't have to be no freaking superhero for us to want to be his friend. Am I right? Yeah, I'm right. That's the sad part about our society. That's the sad part about us humans. We would prefer to be Tony Stark's friend because he's rich and famous, before we willing to be Peter Parker's friend who is a nobody. Yeah. Okay, you don't understand where I'm going just yet. Well, let me go to the last one. Black Panther's Killmonger. If you watch Black Panther back when Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. I hate doing this thing. It's kind of cheesy to me. Am I the only black person that feels that? I understand the whole thing, but anyway. You take Black Panther's Killmonger, his origin story. Well, his origin story started off when he was a kid playing basketball, I think in the Bronx or in Brooklyn, somewhere in New York. His dad, Killmonger's dad, was stealing vibranium from Wakanda and selling it on the streets, I think, right? So Black Panther, which was the new age Black Panther's father. Yeah, just watch the movie. I'm not explaining it right. Black Panther's dad, which was the then Black Panther, went to address him about the situation. Once he addressed him about it, he then killed him. After he killed him, he just went back to Wakanda. Left the boy out there, just now an orphan. So years later, the boy becomes a criminal, stealing all these artifacts and etc. back from the white people, I think. And then he goes back to Wakanda and takes his rightfully, you know what I'm trying to say. He takes his place. If, only if, the then Black Panther would have just took the child back to Wakanda and raised him as his nephew that he was, or raised him as his son, would have been good. Would have been okay. So where's all this going? Well, as Christians, we do the exact same thing. Amongst us Christians outside the church and Christians within the church, we tend to want to get close with the one that we see that has great potential to being a great leader, being a great pastor, being a great minister. But we don't want to be close to the one who has some sins, some issues. We want to be close to the one that looks pure, got everything going for him, everything going for her. But we don't want to get close to the one that's got some mistakes going on. Well, the way that I see it, the origin story isn't determined by fate. It's determined by God. I didn't think about it, but there are so many superheroes who have an origin story, such as Batman. Batman went through a troubling time. He was traumatized, saw his parents get shot in front of him. And Batman then became the Batman. Now, granted, he needed probably some therapy. He probably then wouldn't have become Batman. But the point is, he's a superhero at least, fighting crime. The way that you treat your fellow brothers and sisters will add to their origin story regardless. But you can help mold them into either a villain or into a superhero. But you can't just see, oh, I want to help Tony Stark. Oh yeah, he's about to become a superhero. Hey, I'll be your assistant. You can't see Bruce Wayne and be like, oh my gosh, Bruce Wayne, you're about to become Batman. I'll be your assistant. No, you got to see the Peter Parker. You got to see the Clark Kent. You got to see the one that nobody cares about. The one that's just going to regular high school, got a regular job. No one is second thinking. You need to be involved with them because they may in fact become one of the greatest superheroes. I've seen it happen all the time, and it's happened to myself. You be in ministries, you be in churches, you be in organizations and around people, and they are so willing to focus on this person. And they don't want to focus on you because you got some stuff that you're dealing with, when they don't realize that God is using those stuff that you're dealing with to make you the superhero that he's calling you to be. Imagine if Samson in the Bible got a hold of his issues. He could have used his issues, his anger and his lust, as a way to glorify God, a testament. But instead, he used it to become a villain. Now, no one else really helped or didn't help in his story. But what if someone did see Samson going down the wrong path? Someone could have reached out, been like, yo, Samson, come on, bro. I already know God got so much for you, man. You done killed half of the Philistines. Imagine if someone was right there helping Samson. Then the Philistines would have been dead. You don't realize it? You don't see it? The people that you think are the least are the people that God considered the best. Look at David. David was a scrawny little kid. Amongst his brothers, he was the least, but God ordained or anointed David to be the king, not any of his brothers. So stop trying to pick and choose who you're going to pour into, who you're going to mentor, who you are going to be right beside, who you're going to become friends with, and be led by God. Because when you're really led by God, he will show you to the people that you need to be led to. Instead of us trying to build relationships, we network within the Christian community. Do you know how many people probably regret not being Mike Todd's friend, not being Bishop T.D. Jake's friend, not being Pastor Stephen Furby's friend, not being all of these great leaders' friends, not being Obama's friend, not being President Biden's friend, not being, Trump's friend? Do you know how many people regret it? Well, honestly, you wouldn't have to regret anything If you wasn't so concerned on trying to network with the people that you found to be the best, but network with the people that God considers the best. And here's a little story. Here's a little hint. He considers everybody to be the best. So I want to challenge you, and I'm challenging myself. That person that you think is trash, an alcoholic, a drug addict, a sex addict, lustful, right? The person that you think is just, trash. Reach out to them and develop a relationship. Not for the purpose of, you never know what they may be, but for the purpose of, I want to help contribute in a good way to your origin story. I want to help you become a superhero.